Good morning, good morning, good morning, community. Good afternoon, East Coast. How are you? West Coast, the sun is popping up. I worked up a sweat already this morning. How are you? How are you? I'm sorry I don't have my earbuds. I actually did not plan to walk my actual 4 miles today. I was going to do 2 miles and turn around. But then once I started, um, I couldn't stop. The momentum came. I know, can you see the mountain back there? Isn't it beautiful? That's what I walked to. And that then leads to a hiking trail. But it was so beautiful out here. But more importantly, the momentum of going up the hill kind of kicked in. So I just kept walking. And I think that's the way it is with life. I'm Janine Macklin, your transformational speaker, wealth guide, and catalyst. And I'm really on a mission to empower women, people period, but women especially, to create their amazing lives, to change their relationship with money. Change that conversation you have, the thoughts you have with money, so that you can actually move into a prosperous life and wealth. It's the financial steps, one by one, that ultimately lead to the wealth that we all deserve and the prosperity that's available to all of us. So, how are you today? What's today? What is today? Today's Thursday? Yeah. So how are you today? Uh, I'm okay. But my question now is, what do we do now? I just let my tears flow. And then gradually I found some peace because I looked at the actual picture of the gentleman. Hello, my dear, bonjour. I looked at the gentleman on the ground and the officer had his knee on his neck. And I looked at his eyes. That's what I looked at, was his eyes. And I looked at the police officer and I looked at his eyes as well. Now, you may not know me really well, but I am really a spiritual person and a spiritual teacher. So I do know that no one leaves this planet by accident. There are no such thing as an accident. Man's created that to try and make us feel better. When our appointed time comes, it's our appointed time. There's nothing here making people leave any faster than they're supposed to. God's not some willy-nilly saying, okay, on this day, this happened this day. No, there's some reasoning to what happens. So I believe whenever people leave, it's time for them to leave. We have some notion that when people die, they're supposed to die a certain way. It's supposed to look a certain way. The older ones are supposed to die before the younger ones. Babies shouldn't be killed. We have all these notions about death because we're afraid of it. But I'm real clear, before we even got here, we made an agreement with God, life, and the universe. What we would do here, what our mission would be here, what our goals were, what we would contribute. And then when we had done what we were supposed to do, we would go. What I find interesting is I really believe that these particular kind of situations are calling our attention to look at some things differently. When you see a man on the ground and his face is on the gravel, and you look in his eyes and you see a white man standing over him and you look in his eyes. Every person who makes the exit from this planet has a story, has a reason. We look at Martin and we know Martin had a reason. We know why they took Martin out. Martin was moving everybody together. We know why they took Malcolm out. Malcolm and Martin were getting ready to become buddies. What would the world have been like if those two had connected, put away their differences and came together? And I think for us, that's the message that we still have now. That continues to be our message. As much as it's disappointing to see how we continue to keep playing the same replay story over and over and over. Okay, I'm in the middle of the street. They're changing the lanes. And we keep responding to it the same way. But these scenarios are for us to learn and for us to understand the meanings behind them. There are no victims. Nobody's being taken advantage of, even though that's the way it may seem, is that there are no victims. Everything happens for a reason. There are no accidents. I don't believe in accidents. I don't think there's some willy-nilly God that's saying, oh, let me wake up today and I'll do this. Or, like women with their hair. I don't believe that. And there's another guy says, oh, let's do this. Everything has a reason. Everything happens for a reason. It's for us to look deeper for what the reason is and what the answer is. And just like those deaths that I mentioned with Martin and Malcolm, in all of them, Gandhi's death was for a reason. And Gandhi worked real hard all the way up until his death to bring his message of unity and humility and compassion for each other until he died. So where do we stand? What do we do as we go forward? Where do we stand and what do we do? What are the choices that we're going to make going forward? I have signed so many political campaign donations in an effort to help flip some of the seats. Now, everybody can't do that. But if you have a phone, you can call Congress, you can call your senator, you can call your assembly person, you can take action, and you can do some things that would have an impact on what hurts our hearts so much. The question is, will we? There's a tendency to have an emotional response to things, and then it's like, okay, we'll go on with life until the next response comes and our next event happens, and it was like, okay, now we respond to that, and then we go on to life. We go on back to life and living life. What is it that we're willing to do? You know, we can always write letters to assemblymen. We can always protest. However, I'm not big on the protests becoming violent or hitting people or destroying people's cars and all that. That then defeats our purpose. Because the purpose isn't to damage someone's car. The purpose is to bring awareness to what the whole world can see now. And I think that's where these deaths become symbols of what the world is. These deaths become wake-up calls for us to see where the world is and where we're heading. No one can miss it unless they just don't want to see it. The war, I'll say, on black men and on black youth, it cannot be missed. You just cannot. I know moms we're pulling our sons closer. I know dads have got to be pulling their sons closer. We're the only ones who have to tell our children how to respond when the police come up or stop them. We're the only ones who have to have the scenario with them about how to keep safe in the event. I just heard a woman sneeze. In the event that this continues. You know, it's on us because they're our boys. And if they keep taking the black men, the fathers from the home, that leaves us as the women to have to manage and take care of them. And yet, as we pull them closer, what else can we do? I'm at peace because I'm not mad at Amy either for lying and saying that the black man was trying to hurt her, even though she was in the park with her dog in a bird park where she wasn't supposed to be. I still focus higher to the goal that we have for the quality of life that we say we want. And are we willing to fight for it? And what will that mean? And what will that look like? I mean, it's great to shed tears and it's great to become so awake and aware to the truth of what's happening on this planet. But if we don't do anything, if we don't go beyond the tears, if we don't go beyond all the whatever on Facebook and Instagram, and it's great and wonderful that, you know, Beyonce and everybody else has something to say, but where do we go next? What's the next step? It has to be legislature. That's the only place that we can have an impact. It has to be the legislature. Yes, we do need to march. We need to march for every single thing that comes up like this, but civilly. They need to see us in masses, not see us jumping on people and breaking the windows in cars and all of that because we're angry and we're hurt. Yes, it does feel like we're living in some world where the spotlight is on, all I can say is black men and black youth, because I can't say black folks, black women, maybe in trafficking, but no one's really paying attention to the black woman. So what is it that we do now? We have prayed, and grandmothers have prayed for us, and women have prayed for all of us and for our boys for years and years and years. But how do we, one, live in a country that doesn't want us and have a strong enough mindset to take care of ourselves, our family, our kids, our neighborhood, our communities? How do you live there in hope? How do you live there still pushing forward for the dreams that you have for yourself? And for me, it's the dream that I have for America. It's the dream that I really think that when God put us on this planet, we were supposed to do something amazing. Morning. So where do we go next? What do we do next? To be all over the news and the man's been fired. But what do we do in our hearts? What do we do to keep living here on this planet, in this country, and still know that it's still better than what we may see in other countries? How do we live here knowing that I really am 1,000% knowing that the media is manipulating the average person through the social media? How do we then empower ourselves to be stronger in our knowingness, in trusting that what we want is going to come to us, not through the media, not through the politics, but through God, through the source of everything that there is and everything that we have? For me, the energy of the experience of watching it and seeing it, and I looked at Chris Cuomo last night, and I usually don't, was just really, you know, just a display of how disconnected we are from each other and how we honestly really believe that race matters. I think it is the most bogus card that we've ever played that we keep falling into. It's been race since 1619. Can it ever be based on the value and the quality of a person? Well, that's where we have to step up and show them the value and the quality, because they don't see it. And I know, I can hear you saying now, Janine, they don't care. And I get that too. But I don't care if they care. I care if we care and we demonstrate the quality and the value that we bring to the planet, to the communities, to our community in the world, and to this country. We have to know that we bring it. And yes, there will be people who will fall on their swords for us. You know, there will be people who will say, this is what I came here to do. Kobe came to bring us a message first thing in the year. I mean, when Kobe left the planet, as far as I was concerned, it's like, well, we're in for a heck of a year. And look at where we are heading toward June. So each death represents something, and we're supposed to get something from that, a meaning from it, and then use it to build something stronger in our lives. I prayed. I sat quiet. I did meditation. I said prayers for the two men. I said prayers for their family. I said prayers for the community, and then prayers for the world. Matter of fact, we'll be doing the Prosperity Blessing Circle this evening, if you're on my website, just to catch our dreams and bring them back. And remember, we do have dreams, and that nothing stops us from living our dreams and manifesting our dreams, because we live in a universe and an energy of manifestation. So how often are we manifesting the dream of peace? How often are we manifesting the dream of cooperation and compassion, of understanding? We know every single person on this planet is not racist. Every single person on this planet is not out to get every black child and every black man. But we know there's enough. That what is the dream that we have for this world around that issue? What is the dream that we have around this world for the homeless? What is the dream that we have around this world for everybody to have jobs and have health? How do we pull that in and draw that back into the forefront of what we're living for and what we have the opportunity to transform during this period in time on the planet? Because if this ain't a transformational time on the planet, I don't know what is. So after I did my meditation and my prayer, and I looked in the man's eyes, I really just zoomed in on my computer because I wanted to see his eyes. Morning. I wanted to see his eyes. And there was just something about looking in his eyes that said his death was setting an example for the world. More and more, this is an example for us to see how we are. And trust me, more and more and more, people will begin to make the shifts and changes as we see it. See, the thing that's different now is because the videotapes, everybody can see everything that's going on. In the past, it was, oh, is that really true? Oh, we're not sure. As one of the attorneys or prosecutors said, people always had these fake calls, like Amy Cooper in the park, and they use those for their trials to win their cases. Well, a lot was revealed through this experience with Sir Floyd. I think his name was Greg Floyd. So a lot was revealed, and each time we learned something. And when I went back and looked at the other pictures, I realized back then when I looked at the Senate and the House and everything, it was all white men. Nothing but white men. But when you look at the cabinets now, there's some color in there. So gradually things are shifting and things are changing. It's just changing, to me, a lot slower than I'd like for it to. I'd love for us to be on the other end of this, where we're already in that place of coming together and creating a new society for ourselves. but we're not there yet. But I did see that we are making progress. And so my goal, as I continue to be on this planet, is to keep doing what I'm doing. My gift, my calling is to empower women to have your money confidence, to stop this stuff about you're not enough. You want to be money confidence because you're going to be the one that's going to be left here after your husband goes. We always live longer than the men, and we have to know how to handle our money and be responsible. Stop all the buying the clothes and buying all the hair and all the nails and stuff. We have missions that we need to be focusing on, and that's where we need to send our money, is to take care of, support, and build our missions so that we have a greater impact. I really do believe what would make a greater change on the planet right now is if there were more women in office. So who can step up? Who are the young ones that's coming up? Who are those that are already being groomed to step into these positions? Because that's where we're going to make the change. We're not going to make the change yelling and screaming and crying. We're not going to make the change just protesting, and particularly if those protests end in some kind of violence. That just invalidates the protest. But if we can get somewhere and get thousands and thousands of people of every different race, of every different ethnicity, every different background and economic background to come together and say, enough is enough. But even in doing that, it's like, okay, fine. 80,000 people walked and marched. Okay, now what though? That doesn't get us what we want. It's really about the legislature. I don't know if it's that we create pods and kids walk in pods with an adult who has a gun, because having a gun is what people get to do, or what. But there must be something that we begin to do to empower ourselves so that we feel that if something happens, we too are able to engage and protect ourselves. I don't want a wild, wild west and everybody shooting each other. But how do we come together as community to protect our boys, to protect our men? Do men walk together? Because there was a man standing there the whole time while the police officer had his ankle on the guy's neck. Good morning. How you doing? Good. How's work?
Good.
Okay, you going? Your hair looks good.
Thanks.
Yeah. You did your own cut? That's why I said nice cut.
No,
you got it cut?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm going to get mine colored. I'm tired. Yeah. Have a good walk. I met her starting walking this walk, and she still comes up here. She's a hairstylist. Her partner is a nurse that live across from me. So she's an essential worker. They are under quarantine pretty much all the time. But it's like, how do we think outside the box to create something different for ourselves, for our communities, for our lives, so that we don't feel like we're in such fear or we're such, I guess it's really more fear than anything else. I say we live with a heightened awareness. I'm not a person that can say, oh, I just walk around willy-nilly, da-da-da-da-da. I'm always aware of where I am. I'm always aware of who's around me and whatever experience might come my way that I have to deal with. But what do we do? What can we create? And I don't want any more meetings. I don't want another forum. I don't want to sit down and talk. What can we do collectively to be heard, to be seen, instead of just our tears and instead of just our protests that lead into violence? What can we do? So you tell me what you think. What are you coming up with? I am doing all I can to really empower my son to just know the America he lives in. And he's more clear about it than I was at 15. To understand how you have to manage your blackness, and even that won't be enough. To understand what their fears are about us because of what TV has told them and they believe it. To understand the conclusions that people may draw about you just because of the color of your skin. That's what he has to know. Now, I didn't even know that growing up. I didn't know it. I wasn't thinking about it. Wasn't even concerned about it because I grew up in a close-knit black community, so I felt like I was safe. But now, because we're in such diverse communities that we live in, it's a lot different. And it opens up the potential for us all to work together. It opens up the potential for all of us to join together. But we still need someone to lead that. And then if we do, what is the end result? What is the end result? When I look at Martin and all the marches and everything, what is the end result? And the question is, what is the end result that we want? What do we want? What are we willing to stand for, fight for, write for, protest for? What? So I said a prayer for everybody involved. I trust that those are God's children, both of them, and that they both served a purpose for America to remind us how we are and who we are not. I think it's amazing people ride their bikes up this hill. I'm gonna go put some air in my tire and I'm gonna start doing that process. I don't know if I'm going up the hill though, but I think I'll just ride around. But what is it that we're willing to do? Because we have to think of doing something. We can't become numb to it and say, okay, well, they shot another man. Okay, they shot another man. We can't also go into fear because that's part of what this whole manipulation is. Well, they'll be so afraid they won't do anything. They'll be so afraid they'll just sit still and they won't do anything. And in the meantime, people are going hungry, people are starving. There's so much other things that are happening. So what next? What next? It's not the first time. And unfortunately, the country you live in, we know it won't be the last time. So what next? What can we do? What little step? Just think of something little that you could do. If it's just sending a letter to your senator or to your assembly person, what can we do that gets the word out, that keeps letting them know this is not okay. We're not accepting this. Yeah, we'll stay here. We don't have our own planet to go to. We don't have our own state to go to and haven't paid any reparations. But this is not okay. And how do we continuously let them know? What can we do together, individually, to say, this isn't okay. Our lives matter. Our children's lives matter. I don't even see what your fear would be. But I do understand that a lot of people have been programmed for fear when it comes to black men and black youth. And it's so idiot. It's so stupid because most of the black men that they're bothering and shooting and killing and apprehending aren't doing anything. You don't see a black man walking down the street with an AK-47 like you see these white boys going to the schools shooting kids at school. We don't do that. That's not who we are as a people. You don't see black men doing that. So every black man that's been shot, you almost wonder, what was he doing besides being black? So it's a tough one because it's anchored in America's creation. When America was created, racism was created because of slavery. When America started using human bodies as their sellers to make money, that's when this was all started. And so it's ingrained. It's like in the USA's DNA to be racist. You know, they've built the laws. They've written it into the Bibles. They've written everywhere they could write it to basically say white people, black people aren't any good. And so when you've done that, you've already created this narrative that so many people believe and never look to change it and never update it. So that's what we're up against, and that's what our kids are up against, particularly our men. What can we do? What do we do? And what will we do? Individually or collectively, to let them know on a regular basis, we're watching you and what you're doing isn't okay. And that's what I did. But it still hurts. It still hurts inside because I just have a better dream, a bigger dream, a more, I mean, we were supposed to be the land of possibilities. You know, we were supposed to be the land where you could do whatever, have your business, raise your family. But we're not that anymore. So now we have to define for ourselves going forward what we are, what we're going to do, and how we're going to be in a country that really doesn't want us here, doesn't value us, and doesn't appreciate us. Doesn't mean we don't value ourselves, and it doesn't mean that other people on this planet don't value us. So don't get it wrong. Just because the presidents walk around without no mask on and saying, oh, well, this person deserved that, or oh, this person deserved that, that's not every single body in America. So don't think it is. That's just a few people. It's just that those few make so much doggone noise that people believe them. Anyway, on that note, have a great Thursday. Without earbuds, it may be hard to hear me. I'll check in with you guys tomorrow, see how you're doing. Have a great day.